I went to Beiyan in the princess's stead for the marriage alliance. It wasn't until 5 years later, when the Nanchu army breached the Yan capital, that I could finally return to my homeland, only to discover a substitute had taken my place, usurping everything that was mine. My parents became her parents. My home became hers. Even my childhood sweetheart, once betrothed to me, had fallen in love with her, because I had served as the princess's substitute in the marriage alliance. And because of my supposed merit, she became a frequent guest in the palace, a favored guest of the nobles, showered with countless honors and favors. After I returned, she poisoned my tea, gritting my teeth against the excruciating pain tearing through my insides. I saw her hiding behind my childhood sweetheart, snickering. I snatched a guard sword and swung it down at them. None of you shall live. We'll all go to hell together. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day the Nanchu army breached the Yan capital. I pressed my blade against the northern Yan emperor's throat, waiting for the Nanchu forces to storm the Tai palace. Under their stunned gazes, I raised my eyebrows. General, you've made this princess wait far too long. Your humble servants await the princess's return. Capturing the Emperor of Beiyan alive meant my contribution surpassed that of my previous life. Thus, upon returning to Nanchu, the Emperor personally led all civil and military officials out of the city to greet us. They welcomed both the Triumphant army and Princess Changning, who had married into the enemy realm for the nation's peace. 5 years prior, unwilling to part with his own daughter, the Emperor had planned to select a maiden from among his ministers' families. My father, craving wealth and honor, offered me up. The Emperor adopted me as his foster daughter, bestowing the title Changning. I curtsied gracefully, Father Emperor. Your humble daughter has fulfilled her mission, aiding the general in destroying northern Yan and capturing the deposed emperor alive. The Emperor said with satisfaction, My good child, your contribution is the greatest. That was precisely the words I sought. From this day forward, no one could deny I was a meritorious subject of Southern Chu. That evening, a banquet was held in the palace to welcome me and the soldiers. I sat beside the Emperor and Empress, sharing the feast with them. My seat was placed at the head of the princesses. I intended for everyone to know I was no discarded pawn. All the torment and humiliation I endured in Beiyang had now become my medals upon returning to Nanchu. Whoever dares to slight me in the slightest, or utter a single word of insult, will truly be committing a grave offense. My gaze swept over the high officials, noble ladies, and young nobles below, meeting Song Fongli's eyes. That face, bearing 6 or 7 parts of my own likeness, curved its brows and eyes with a gentle smile, radiating 1,000 charms. She looked harmless as a lamb. Yet in my past life, she was the one who poisoned me. During the banquet, the Emperor asked me kindly, Your marriage alliance to Changning has served the state well. What reward do you desire? I replied with grace, Your Majesty, I humbly request a residence where I may live comfortably henceforth. Those with discerning ears could hear the subtle implication, a veiled accusation of my parents' neglect. Strange glances fell upon them, making them squirm uncomfortably. Such was the karma they deserved. Besides, this was nothing compared to what had come before. In my previous life, after I returned safely from the mission, they despised me for having been the woman of the deposed Emperor of Beiyuan. They even pressured me to prove my loyalty through death. Song Fengli repeatedly framed me. Could they truly not see how clumsy her schemes were? Upon closer examination, they were far from innocent in many matters. The Emperor cast a heavy glance at my father before smiling at me and saying, I grant your request. I knelt to express my gratitude. The Empress said, when Changning was betrothed for the peace alliance, she was barely 15. Now in the prime of her youth, Your Majesty might consider arranging a marriage for her. The Emperor nodded thoughtfully, then asked me, What are your thoughts? Changning? My gaze swept over the people below once more. When it fell upon Meng Huaqing, he quickly lowered his head and turned away, as if afraid I might see him and insist on marrying him. We had known each other since childhood, growing up together. Our betrothal was annulled due to the marriage alliance. That he fell for another girl was something I could fully accept and understand. But he chose to love that substitute instead, shielding and indulging her as she repeatedly plotted against me. Even knowing she poisoned me, he shielded her behind him, watching me suffer the effects of the poison. My features contorted in agony. That sensation of my internal organs being scorched by fire, even now. The memory brings pain so intense it nearly suffocates me. I drew a deep breath and spoke slowly. Your Majesty, upon my return to the homeland, I wish to recuperate for a time before discussing other matters. The Emperor agreed. This topic was set aside for now. Clearly, many breathed a sigh of relief. Princess Xiaoning sat beside me, silent throughout. Only after the banquet ended did she follow me out, trailing behind. Just like when we were children, she timidly called out, Sister Xiangyi. It was Xiangyi from Xinxiangyi, not the title Changning. 5 years ago, it was Princess Xiaoning who was originally slated for the political marriage. Her birth mother, Consort Lu, knelt outside the imperial study for 2 full hours before the emperor revoked the decree. The one who ultimately went was me. Xiaoning bowed her head and murmured, I'm sorry. Watching her stoop low, I narrowed my eyes slightly. Resentment simmered within me toward her. Resentment that she had relished the glory of a princess yet shirked its responsibilities. Had she not, I would never have been sacrificed. But more than resentment, I harbored hatred for my own parents. They had abandoned me for wealth and prestige. They even arranged a substitute to torment me, leading to my death. Sister Xiangyi, I know it was my selfish cowardice that forced you into this marriage. I don't ask for your forgiveness, only to do something for you. I fixed my gaze on her. Anything? She hesitated briefly. Then her eyes hardened. Anything. I uttered a single word, good. Zhao Ning's face lit up instantly, her eyes brimming with excitement as she looked at me. I tugged at the corner of my mouth, a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Driven by guilt toward me, she had gone out of her way to support Song Fangli, elevating a woman of unknown origins to the center of attention among the capital's noble ladies. Now, I intended to see just how Song Fangli was being fawned over. At the palace gates, the entire Shen household awaited me. Father wore a stern expression, while Mother and Song Fangli remained seated in the carriage. Seeing me approach, they showed no intention of greeting me, instead radiating reproach. Rong Yue, the palace maid by my side, a gift from the Empress, announced loudly. The princess has returned to the estate. All of the Shen household shall perform the half-bow. Father stared at me in disbelief. But seeing the procession behind me, he had no choice but to bow. Only upon hearing Father's voice did Mother and Song Fangli hastily dismount and curtsy to me. Amidst their suppressed anger, I let out a soft snort and climbed into the most lavish carriage of the Shen household. Song Fangli helped Mother attempt to board. Rong Yue blocked them. The princess is in the carriage. Madame Shen and Miss Song must ride separately. The Shen family's expressions all darkened. I relished watching them, desperate to eliminate me, yet forced to submit. By this lifetime's reckoning, 5 years had passed since I last set foot in the Shen residence. This place had once been my home. But now, the courtyard I had meticulously arranged belonged to Song Fangli. My home had become hers. In my previous life, Mother had said she personally prepared another courtyard for me. For 5 years, I longed for my family day and night. Hearing Mother's words, I never asked to return to my original courtyard. This time, I had all of Song Fangli's belongings thrown out. Seeing this, Song Fangli rushed forward to stop them, accusing me before our parents, sister. If you want my courtyard, just say so. How dare you throw my things out? That's too domineering. I gave a signal. The matron approached Song Fangli and delivered 2 swift slaps, one to each cheek. Song Fangli began to cry, her tear-streaked face looking truly beautiful. So, I wanted her to cry even harder. With a glance, Rongyu declared, insulting the princess warrants 20 strokes. The matron continued the beating. Father and mother paced anxiously. They pointed fingers at me, yet dared not speak their anger aloud. In the end, they lowered their hands, uttering not a single word. I gave them a dismissive glance before entering the house to rest. Before dawn, I awoke. For those 5 years, I had served the Emperor of Beiyan like a slave, rising early to prepare his porridge and brew his tea. If I failed to attend to him personally and perfectly, I would be sent to serve even more people. Even now, reborn into this life and returned to Nanchu, the scars on my body could not be fully erased, and habits formed over time were hard to break. I lay awake, waiting for sunlight to stream through the window. After washing, a maid from my mother's quarters arrived to deliver a message, haughtily scolding me for sleeping late and failing to pay respects. I lifted my teacup, and Rongyu struck the maid across the face. That servant had always bullied others under her mistress's authority, accustomed to arrogance. When I first returned to the estate in my past life, she spread rumors that I was a fallen woman who should take her own life to preserve her honor. My imperial decree to marry for peace became a crime in her eyes. I was about to punish her on the spot, but my birth parents intervened fiercely, accusing me of cruelty and inhumanity. This time, after being struck, the maid jumped up and shouted, "I am the lady's maid." Rongyu sneered coldly. "I am the senior palace maid assigned to the princess by Her Majesty the Empress." At the mention of the Empress, the maid instantly wilted. I had her bound and dragged to the front courtyard for public flogging. Mother and Song Fangli arrived swiftly. The maid clung to them like a lifeline. "Mistress. Young miss. Please save me." Mother blamed me, just as she had in my past life. Her voice filled with anguish. How could I have given birth to such a thing? I lifted an eyelid, reminding her, without me, would you two even have this overwhelming wealth? I married for the nation's peace. Even the emperor called me a meritorious subject. How? In mother's mouth. Have I become a criminal? Are you saying the emperor was wrong? Mother turned pale with fright and hastily denied it. Father finally rushed back. I kindly informed him how mother had shown great disrespect to the emperor, daring to suggest he was wrong. Father raised his hand and slapped mother across the face. I signaled the eunuchs to release her. The two immediately began wrestling. This spectacle of dogs fighting among themselves was truly amusing. I never witnessed such a thing in my past life. What a loss. In my previous existence, I cherished family bonds too much, allowing them to walk all over me. This lifetime, I graciously let the matron teach them some manners. I am a princess. In the Shin household, it is not my duty to pay morning and evening respects to anyone, they must bow and greet me. Afternoon came, and Meng Huaqing sought me out. He showered me with care, hoping to rekindle our past connection. I picked at my nails, asking casually, "What about Song Fangli?" He replied earnestly, "Xiangyi. She looks so much like you. These past 5 years, I've thought of you constantly. Only seeing her could ease this longing slightly. In my heart, there has always been only you. Now that you're back, how could I possibly think of anyone else?" Didn't he realize how contradictory that sounded? But it didn't matter. The point was, he was actually trying to charm me with his good looks. Such a grand sacrifice meant his intentions were surely significant. Following my old way of thinking, I should have played along, feigned interest, and first figured out his true purpose. But honestly, he disgusted me. I arched an eyebrow and sneered coldly. You shameless creature. Daring to covet this palace? Guards! Escort him to the Imperial clan office. Why should I give him the courtesy of a smile? Wouldn't that be squandering my second chance at life? The guards took Meng Huaqing to the Imperial clan office. I ordered Rongyu to accompany them and explain the situation to the clan chief. No one was to interfere along the way. My parents, Meng Huaqing's parents, they all came begging for mercy. But I remained utterly unmoved. I'd rather stare into space than deal with them. Meng Huaqing was reprimanded by the minister of the Imperial clan and released shortly after. I never expected him to be detained long over such a trivial matter. It was merely a cold appetizer. A taste of disgrace to tarnish his reputation. Let's see how he pretends to be a proper gentleman now. Days later, rumors about me began circulating in the capital. They said that during my time in Beiyan, my lips were tasted by countless men, that I stripped naked to dance for Beiyan's men, and that I suffered 5 or 6 miscarriages. Whoever started these rumors. I went straight to the palace and wept bitterly before the emperor and empress. I am the emperor's adopted daughter, bearing the genuine title of princess. I married into an enemy nation and captured their emperor alive. The emperor himself praised me, acknowledging my merits. Now, spreading such rumors is slapping the emperor in the face. Moreover, it proves I sacrificed everything for Nanchu, enduring unimaginable hardships in Beiyan. I deserve proper compensation. So what harm could rumors possibly do to me? Oh, right, if I were fragile and cared about a woman's reputation, I might actually hang myself. But I was a peace envoy. I am a meritorious subject. I deserve the court's commendation and the people's reverence. His Majesty bestowed gold, silver, jewels, and silken brocades upon me. His grace was boundless. As I left the palace, my ears were filled with flattery and adulation. Even my father, upon seeing me, avoided my gaze and retreated 3 paces. I stood tall, my eyes bold and defiant. Even if those rumors were true, so what? The ones who should be ashamed are these incompetent cowards hiding behind women. Within 2 days, the Ministry of Justice traced the source of the rumors. Meng Huaqing confessed he had sent men to spread them. He sought revenge, aiming to ruin my reputation. Meng Huaqing was stripped of his office, and his father was reprimanded by the emperor. Stripped of his salary for a year, the princess's mansion was completed. I chose an auspicious day to move in. Gifts celebrating my new residence arrived in an unending stream. I hosted a banquet in gratitude. Guests thronged like clouds, the courtyard bustling with visitors. My parents and that stand-in also came. Mother approached me, cleared her throat, and said, "Xiangyi, you really are something. With so many distinguished guests present, how could you possibly sit in the seat of honor yourself?" I narrowed my eyes, fixing her with a cold stare. Yet, relying on her status as my mother, she remained oblivious to others' expressions, insisting on putting on airs before me. I scoffed coldly. 5 years ago, when father sent me to the marriage alliance, what did you say to me, mother? Her eyes darted nervously, glancing left and right as she instinctively took a half-step back. In front of everyone, I didn't mind jogging her memory. You said, you and father gave birth to me. By sacrificing myself for the Shen family's wealth and honor, I repay your kindness. From now on, you must treat me as if I never existed. You also said I was wicked-hearted, and your greatest regret was not throwing me to my death the moment I was born. The hall erupted in shock, whispers rippling through the crowd. And regardless of what others whispered behind my back, I was the emperor's adopted daughter, Princess Changning. Such slander, taken to its extreme, amounted to the crime of high treason. Mother's face betrayed her embarrassment. She wanted to lash out at me but dared not, finally slumping back into her seat in frustration. Father, hiding behind his composure, not only failed to comfort Mother but instead told her to behave herself, as if he alone possessed reason. Truth be told, he was just being petty. Song fondly approached Xiaoning, speaking to her affectionately, "Princess, it's been some time since we last met. I've recently mastered 2 new pastries from the south. I'd like to invite you to taste them." She sought to solidify her position through Xiaoning. 5 years truly felt like an eternity. So long that Song fondly forgot her own status. Forgot who it was that had secured her place among these imperial relatives. Xiaoning gave her a cold stare and said sharply, "If you wish to work in the imperial kitchen, ask any of the princes and ministers present here, which one would be willing to recommend you." Song fondly paused, then lowered her eyes slightly. A tear gathered at the corner of her eye, teetering on the brink of falling, making her appear even more pitiful and deserving of sympathy. "Unfortunately, I'm the least inclined to pity the weak," I scoffed, offering her no pretense of sympathy. Then I picked up the peeled tangerine before me, split it in half, and offered one to Xiaoning. "Xiaoning, I can't finish this. Here, have yours." Xiaoning's eyes lit up instantly. She scampered over, her voice sweet as honey. "Thank you, Sister Xiangyi." Just as I'd hoped. Song fondly's face turned ashen. I curved my lips into a smile and motioned for Xiaoning to sit beside me. She sat down obediently, clearly overwhelmed by the attention. Xiaoning's reaction spoke volumes. I wanted everyone to know I was back, and no one could ever replace me. Let's see who would still fawn over Song fondly, rushing to offer her wealth and privilege. When Song fondly returned to her seat, those who had been chatting and laughing with her moments before fell silent. Mother held her hand, whispering words that alternated between pity and fury. It was laughable. Really. I endured every hardship, while they basked in the luxury I earned for them. Yet instead of gratitude, they wanted me dead. Was that even just? I couldn't help but wonder, was I truly their biological daughter? It felt like Song fondly was their real daughter, and I was just a foundling. Song fondly had climbed onto another high branch. Among her flower guardians, the 4th prince had joined the ranks. She danced before me, falsely accusing me of pushing her into the water. I had to make sure the accusation stuck. I grabbed a fire poker, held her down in the water, and made her drink several mouthfuls. She threatened me, Xiangyi. "If you dare do this to me, the 4th prince won't let you off." Too bad I'm the kind who's got nothing to lose. Barefoot people have nothing to fear. The moment she surfaced, I pushed her back down. I curved my lips, curious why the 4th prince hasn't shown up yet. Why isn't he here to rescue his damsel in distress? She glared at me with the fury of a spent arrow. I graciously informed her, because he's busy flirting with a beauty. Song fondly finally showed fear and screamed for help. The one who came to her rescue was Meng Huaqing. Knowing full well Song fondly was involved with the 4th prince, he still shielded her. With a pained expression, he pulled her ashore and wrapped his outer robe around her. He turned to me, his voice filled with anguish. "Xiangyi, we grew up together. If you have grievances, take them out on me. Don't hurt others." "Fine. Go die first." I readily took the fire poker in my hand and struck him with all my might. Meng Huaqing fell silent under the blows. Song fondly trembled, tears streaming down her face. Seeing their pain brought me joy. Until the general seized the poker, snatched it away, and hurled it aside. A flicker of triumph crossed Meng Huaqing's eyes. No wonder he didn't fight back. He'd been waiting here for me all along. But did I fear him? 5 years ago, after suffering defeat in battle, the general personally led the escort to deliver me to Beiyan for the marriage alliance. at the border between our two nations. I spoke only these words to him. I send myself to secure the state. Where might the general be needed? The mighty, unyielding general's eyes reddened. Kneeling at my feet, he solemnly swore to rally his forces and bring me back to Chu. 5 years later, the general fulfilled his vow, leading his army to crush Bayan. During the triumphant return, the general showed me exceptional care. I could see he was deeply principled, burdened by duty, and stubbornly old-fashioned. He always blamed himself for the defeat and the marriage alliance 5 years prior. Thus, he felt he owed me a debt. Song fondly bowed in gratitude to the general, her expression exuding a pitiable vulnerability. Meng Huaqing, despite his excruciating pain, also offered his thanks. The two appeared like a pair of ill-fated lovers. As for me, I was arrogant and ruthless. The general shook his head with a sigh, then dismissed Meng Huaqing and Song fondly. Once they were gone, he bowed to me and said, "Princess, I have 2 sons. My eldest has repeatedly distinguished himself in battle and now serves as a roving general. My younger son has also achieved academic success and recently assumed his first post. Both are of marriageable age yet remain unwed." I paused, then burst into laughter. The general must be offering up a son to redeem himself. I raised an eyebrow. Our dynasty decrees that imperial consorts hold no real power. The loyal general, devoted to his country, countered, charging across the battlefield, bravely slaying foes while exhilarating and glorious. It's also a matter of risking one's life. If my son were fortunate enough to marry the princess, he needn't fight on the battlefield or endure the hardships of guarding remote passes. He could remain in the capital as a leisurely, wealthy prince consort. What's not to like? I stared at him intently. But he was sincere, genuine. I couldn't detect a single flaw. He was a great general who had fought on the battlefield. The defeat and forced marriage 5 years ago were due to the southern Chu court's internal strife, which scattered their forces and allowed them to be defeated piecemeal. It wasn't his fault. On the contrary, over these 5 years, the general had managed to rally his forces, assemble a large army, and breach northern Yen. That was his skill. He led his troops to escort me back to Chu. He had both merit and kindness. He and his men guard the borders, defending the nation. His entire family embodies loyalty and valor. He is the pillar of Nanchu, a hero in the hearts of the people. After my rebirth, I wanted to lash out at everyone, even cursing at passing dogs. But facing the general, I didn't want to put him in a difficult position. I took a deep breath. Song fondly jumped into the water herself. She tried to frame me, so I made sure she got what she deserved. She was scheming with the 4th prince. Had I not arranged for someone to trip him, she would have succeeded just now. If the 4th prince had confronted me, I truly wouldn't have known how to handle it. The general remained silent. He still believed I was in the wrong. I lowered my gaze and turned to leave. But then I heard the general say, "A princess should not handle matters personally. A simple order would suffice." My footsteps halted, and I found myself smiling involuntarily. I've learned my lesson. During the palace greeting, I encountered the 4th prince's consort in the empress's chambers. We'd crossed paths several times at court banquets and aristocratic gatherings before, so we weren't complete strangers. As I knelt to pay respects to the empress, the 4th prince's consort knelt alongside me. She seemed to want to speak with me privately. She caught up to me and motioned for her attendants to keep their distance. Then, as if delivering news, she said, "Changning, the 4th prince intends to petition the emperor to make Song Fongli his secondary consort. I fear she will inevitably cause you trouble in the future." I replied immediately, "Miss Song is charming and lovely. His Highness is truly fortunate." The 4th prince's consort was momentarily speechless. After a long pause, she dropped her feigned politeness and said, "We both know exactly what sort of person Song Fongli is. If she becomes a prince's secondary consort, you'll have to think twice before dealing with her." I remained unmoved. I'm a princess betrothed for the sake of the nation. What can she do to me? At worst, I'll just shut myself away and live my own life. Chongning, fourth prince's consort. Rest assured, Chongning won't hold a grudge against you or the fourth prince because of Song Fongli. Only then did the fourth prince's consort plead urgently. Chongning, please help me. Song Fongli must not enter the prince's residence. Now we're talking. If you want favors, you need to show some humility. No one gets to use me as a pawn for free. I replied calmly. As far as I know, the fourth prince already has a secondary consort, along with several concubines and bedchamber attendants. Why is it only Song Fongli you cannot tolerate? The fourth prince's consort hooked her arm through mine and leaned close, whispering, "Just this past New Year, at Zhaoning's birthday banquet, I saw her and the second prince together in a compromising position." I tilted my head slightly, studying her intently. She continued, "The entire capital believes Meng Huiqing regards her as your substitute, that they are a pair. The affair between her and the second prince was concealed so deeply. I can't help but question her motives for approaching the fourth prince. I had been gone for 5 years. Song Fongli appeared after my departure. In my previous life, I had people investigate her. Her past was as clean as a blank sheet of paper. Yet she excelled in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, even mastering palace etiquette. Either she was a prodigy, learning everything instantly, or she was a spy. I turned away from the fourth prince's consort and returned to the palace to see His Majesty. I requested an imperial decree to meet the Marquis of Anil, the deposed emperor of Beiyan. After his capture in Chu's capital, the emperor, seeking to pacify Beiyuan's subjects, spared his life. Instead, he was granted the title Marquis of Anil and placed under house arrest at Fengxiao Villa. Presenting my token, the imperial guards stationed at the villa allowed me entry. There he lay, the deposed emperor, eyes half closed, reclining on a chaise under a tree. He appeared utterly content. I gave a cold laugh. It's been a while, but the Marquis of Anil seems to have lost quite a bit of weight. His eyes snapped open, fixing on me intently. Then he returned the cold smile. The princess, on the other hand, has grown rather plump, sleeping until the sun is high in the sky, having clothes brought to me and food served to my mouth. No longer needing to serve anyone, this life is truly luxurious. He stared at me steadily, offering no reply. I continued, "Let me share some good news with your lordship. The people of Yen now live in peace and contentment. They all praise the current emperor for his diligent governance and love for the people. They even compose plays mocking the depravity and tyranny of the former Northern Yan's deposed emperor." I emphasized the words deposed emperor with deliberate emphasis. His gaze turned icy as he looked at me. I smiled sweetly, determined to infuriate him. He straightened his expression. "You didn't come here just to utter these meaningless words, did you?" "Of course not." I lied through my teeth. A day as husband and wife creates 100 days of affection. "Naturally. I missed your lordship and came to visit." He narrowed his eyes slightly, then suddenly chuckled softly. "I've never known which of your words are true and which are false." I replied, "Your lordship may trade one truth for one truth from me." He wore an expression that seemed to see right through me. "That must be your true purpose." I didn't deny it, but asked him instead, "How many spies did you plant in Nanchu?" He answered, "So many I've lost count. But rest assured, now that Yen is gone, they're just ordinary citizens." I weighed the truth of his words. He asked, "In these past 5 years, have you ever known a single moment of happiness?" I answered truthfully. No. He seemed wounded, so you were only trying to please me. You deceived me. In Beiyang, I forced myself to master the art of pretense overnight, transforming from a punching bag into a comforting flower. If I failed to serve him well, to placate his moods, the consequences awaiting me would be unbearable. The mere thought of those days in Beiyuan makes me want to kill him. Yet he said, "The moment you stepped into the Tai Hall, I knew what you intended. With my country fallen and my home destroyed, I'm willing to help you before I die." He spoke as if he truly cared. But I'm no naive young girl. I've endured abandonment by my family and a brush with death. His words couldn't deceive me. Besides, in my past life, he fled only to be shot down by arrows outside the Tai Hall. This time, he didn't get far. He should thank me. I pressed on. My lord, do you recall a woman who bore my likeness? She too was a spy. He stared blankly at me, then laughed. If she resembled you, I could never bear to send her as a spy. I laughed too, circling behind him and placing both hands on his neck, tightening my grip slightly. You dare kill me? He didn't move, but after observing him for 5 years, I could hear not only anger in his voice, but also a hint of panic. I laughed, releasing my grip. I wouldn't dare. I just wanted to scare him, because he used to love scaring me. He'd say that if I disobeyed or misbehaved, he'd send me to the barracks. He'd also threaten to execute all the attendants who came with me for the marriage alliance, burdening me with countless lives on my conscience and turning me into a criminal. Being at the mercy of others is like being fish on the chopping block. Now that the tables have turned, it's rather amusing. Let me calculate, how many more days does he have left? Song Fongli is implicated with 2 imperial princes. Once proven a spy, the emperor will surely take her life. Northern Yan is fallen. As Princess Changning, who spent 5 years in Northern Yan through marriage alliance, proving someone is a Northern Yan spy, is that truly difficult? Of course not. After leaving Maple Bridge Villa, I detoured to the Supreme Court before returning to the princess's residence. A palace attendant reported that the second prince's consort had sent an invitation, inviting me to attend a flower viewing banquet. I gladly accepted the invitation. The emperor had yet to designate an heir, and the most competitive contenders were the first prince and the second prince. My first priority was to confirm whether Song Fongli was connected to the second prince and whether the fourth prince's consort's claims were true. When I arrived, the fourth prince's consort was already present. She was chatting and laughing with the second prince's consort, appearing like ordinary sisters-in-law getting along harmoniously. The second prince's consort greeted me with a smile, finding kind words to praise this madwoman. Just as the pleasantries flowed, Song Fongli arrived. Both the fourth prince's consort and I paled simultaneously. After all, in everyone's eyes, she was our mutual rival. I snorted lightly, "Miss Song, where is your Meng Huaqing?" Song Fongli put on an air of grievance again, saying, "Your Highness misunderstands. In the past, young Master Meng showed Fongli much kindness, both out of pity for her and for your Highness's sake. Perhaps emboldened by having a powerful backer, or perhaps sensing her schemes were about to succeed. She grew bolder." She then shifted her tone. "Princess and young Master Meng grew up together. Their bond deep since childhood. If there are misunderstandings, they should be cleared up promptly." This made me burst into laughter. I scanned the room discreetly. Most were merely spectators, but only Zhaoning and the fourth prince's consort showed genuine concern and anger, while the second prince's consort observed us. The fourth prince's consort sneered coldly. How could Princess Changning, of noble birth, be within Meng Huaqing's reach? Miss Song's words do not merely disparage Changning, they insult the emperor and empress. Indeed, the entire imperial family. Faced with such a heavy accusation, Song Fongli flustered and hastily apologized. retreating sullenly to the side. I shot her and the fourth prince's consort a half-smile. They were soon to share one husband. For the fourth prince's sake. They could be rivals in love or stand united. The fourth prince's consort's olive branch was perfectly timed. But I couldn't accept it lightly. Nor was there any need to. I beckoned to Zhao. Better to chat with my kind-hearted younger sister. During the banquet, a young maid accidentally spilled tea onto my gown while serving. I struggled to stifle my laughter. Such a clumsy ploy, did they fear I wouldn't notice the trickery? The second prince's consort reprimanded the maid, apologized to me, and had her personal attendant escort me to a side room to change my clothes. Xiaoning watched me anxiously. Sister Xiangyi, did it burn you? I smiled at her. It was lukewarm. Not hot. Xiaoning visibly relaxed. I told her. Xiaoning, accompany me. Yes. Xiaoning agreed without question. The fourth prince's consort interjected. I was just about to ask Xiaoning to play a round of leaf cards. Hurry back. Had she not added that last sentence, I would have immediately suspected her of ulterior motives. The maid led us to the side room, took the garments from the young servant, and handed them to Rong Yue, saying respectfully, Please change, Your Highness. I shall wait outside. Xiaoning scratched her head absent-mindedly. Sister Xiangyi, I'll wait for you by the screen. I chuckled softly. A little water? The breeze will dry it in no time. Huh? I made a shushing gesture, motioning her to follow me quietly to the window. Not far away. Someone was waiting. The silhouette was unmistakably male. Xiaoning was kind-hearted and unsophisticated. But having grown up in the palace, she could easily piece together the situation from earlier clues. A knock came at the door. The second prince's consort fears the princess might catch a chill. She specially sent me to deliver a bowl of ginger soup. Rong Yue opened the door. It was another maid from the second prince's consort's entourage. In front of the maid, I took 2 sips and casually set the bowl on the table. The maid said, Princess Xiaoning, the fourth prince's consort has inquired about you twice already. I feigned dizziness, clutching my head and saying, Xiaoning, go accompany the imperial sisters-in-law first. I'll rest a bit and join you shortly. Xiaoning followed the maid out. Before long, a large group came searching for me. Indescribable sounds emanated from the side chamber. The fourth prince's consort asked, Has Changning been in the side room the whole time? The second prince's consort declared, It can't be Changning. Everyone, keep your distance. Whispers spread through the crowd. After all, she's been married to the Northern Yen for 5 years. She's long since lost all sense of propriety and shame. She's even disobedient to her own parents. Those rumors before weren't entirely without basis. Who knows? She's not a real princess anyway. After something like this, how can she still have the nerve to call herself a princess? Behind them, Xiaoning's eyes were red, her anger even greater than mine. I urged her not to be upset, then curved my lips and called out, I was just looking for you all. I wondered where you'd vanished to. Turns out you were here. Everyone turned around, staring at me in disbelief. Voices continued leaking out from the side room. The 2 imperial consorts exchanged glances, their expressions darkening as they abruptly pushed open the door and stormed inside. True sisters-in-law, even their expressions and movements were in perfect sync. Immediately afterward, a shriek echoed from the room. The second prince's consort's maid blocked the doorway, preventing others from entering. But those in front still saw. The ones caught in the act inside the side room were the second prince and Song Fengli. This drama involved multiple players orchestrating the scheme. Song Fengli and the second prince had long been colluding. She had bribed the second prince's consort's personal maid through the second prince's eunuch. Their scheme was to use the second prince's wife's banquet as a cover to send me into the fourth prince's bed. But neither of the 2 princes' wives were pushovers. They both uncovered this plot. The second prince's wife decided to turn the tables, intending to use my hand to eliminate Song Fongli. The bowl of ginger soup delivered by another maid contained an ingredient that enhanced the effects of the sleeping potion in the side room. Had I fallen victim to it, I would have killed Song Fongli, though I never intended to spare her. The second prince's consort didn't know she was trying to push me into it. The fourth prince's consort also wanted Song Fongli dead. After the maid splashed water on me, she deliberately warned me of the trap. She planned to lure Song Fongli over, then schemed to make the fourth prince fall for the second prince instead. After I finished speaking, Xiaoning fell silent for a moment before asking, "Sister Xiangyi, is your health all right?" I lowered my gaze slightly. That incense? I've smelled it countless times in the northern Yen Palace. The faint scent in that side room wouldn't even heighten passion in the heat of the moment, it couldn't harm my body. The real potent ingredient was in that bowl of ginger soup. I pretended to take a couple sips, then forced the rest down Song Fongli's throat. The second prince's consort emerged from the side room and dismissed everyone. When her gaze met mine, a flash of viciousness flickered in her eyes. I raised my eyebrows at her and offered a radiant smile. The whole point was to feel refreshed and invigorated myself, while driving others to sickness with rage. The second prince petitioned the emperor and secured the title of secondary consort for Song Fongli. I must admit, she truly knows how to handle men. She was to be married off from the Shin residence. My parents formally adopted her as their foster daughter, prepared her dowry, and sent her off to her new home. Mother dispatched the most respectable stewardess from the mansion to summon me. I sent someone to inquire at the Ministry of Justice. Then I went to the Shin residence in high spirits. Song Fongli declared haughtily, "Shin Xiangyi, you schemed against me, scheming me into becoming the second prince's secondary consort. I should thank you. One day, I'll trample you underfoot and make everyone know I am Song Fongli, while you merely bear a passing resemblance to me." I chuckled softly. "So that's what you're concerned about? Then you should have never exploited my status and achievements from the start. Just be yourself. Trying to have it both ways? How laughable." She shot back. "You were a political marriage, sold off to Beiyan. Everyone knows you're a worn-out shoe, slept with by the Beiyan men. And you actually think you're some kind of hero? Otherwise, why do you think your birth parents treat me like their own flesh and blood while giving you the cold shoulder? Your very existence is a stain on them." My hand shot out and struck her. Rongyue immediately stepped forward to wipe my hand, instinctively blowing on it for me. "How dare you strike me?" Song Fongli clutched her half-reddened cheek, trembling with fury. Of course I dared. And I struck again, ensuring both sides of her face matched. My eyes narrowed. "I have served the Great Chu with merit," the emperor himself declared it. "Dare you question his majesty's judgment? And you commit treason. Even the second prince would not tolerate you. I am a meritorious subject, having arranged the marriage alliance with Nanchu. This is acknowledged by his majesty himself. Anyone who dares to mistreat me is questioning the emperor's words. The marriage alliance, meritorious, without fault. No one can use this matter to attack me." Song Fongli glared at me, her teeth clenched. "Shin Xiangyi, your triumph won't last long." I laughed coldly. "And how long will your triumph last? You haven't even entered the second prince's residence yet. Even if you did, what then?" She glared at me viciously before the wedding matron hurried her out. Standing beneath the corridor, I watched from afar. Many guests had arrived, and my parents beamed like two blooming flowers. Rongyu cleared his throat, tense as if facing a formidable enemy. Only then did I notice Meng Huaqing had approached us unnoticed. He stood beside me, observing the festive bustle, and sighed. "When you were betrothed, I dared not see you off. When she married, I dared not either. While you were in Beiyan, I was powerless to protect her. but the second prince's residence lies within the same imperial city. I can watch over her silently. Instead of anger, I laughed. Don't come before me acting like a fool. Besides, he couldn't protect Song Fongli, because I already heard the sound of hurried footsteps approaching. When it came to the second prince, the emperor would first protect his own son and the royal family's reputation. He wouldn't let Song Fongli implicate him. Therefore, the Ministry of Justice would take her away before she left the house. Song Fongli shouted, "I am the second prince's concubine. Who dares to do this?" The Minister of Justice stepped forward personally, by the emperor's command. "Take her away." All the wedding guests witnessed the bride being arrested. My parents and Meng Huaqing were also taken away before everyone's eyes. Someone leaned close to me and asked, "Princess, what's going on?" I shrugged helplessly. Perhaps the prospective secondary consort has committed some offense. My parents and Meng Huaqing were too deeply involved with her. It's only natural that the Ministry of Justice would summon them for questioning. I trust the ministry will get to the bottom of this. The Ministry of Justice worked with remarkable efficiency. I merely provided a few half-truths and half-lies, and they followed the trail to uncover much more. Song Fongli was indeed a spy from Beiyan. She had approached the second prince, who, upon seeing her beauty, introduced her to Meng Huaqing. From then on, Song Fongli took up residence in the Shen household, gradually replacing me. She exploited her face, so similar to mine, to win Empress Zhaoning's sympathy. By capitalizing on the Empress's guilt toward me, she became a favored guest among the nobles, stealing numerous secrets. Yet, in the face of absolute power, any scheme proves futile. War's course shifts in an instant. The general's decisions are always based on the immediate reality. No amount of information Song Fongli gathered could sway the grand scheme. She eliminated every Beiyuan spy who knew her true identity, becoming the genuine second prince. Upon my return to court, I made it clear to all, Song Fongli could never replace me. Her face, so much like mine, lost its power. The second prince sought to place her beside the fourth prince, leading to the events that followed. Days later, the Minister of Justice sent word that Song Fongli had died in prison. My parents and Meng Huaqing remained detained. I instructed the messenger to relay this, proceed according to the laws of Great Chu. This palace shall not interfere. The final decision rests with His Majesty. To shield the second prince, all blame was pinned upon Song Fongli, the spy. My father was stripped of his office, and Meng Huaqing's career was ruined, though both were released unharmed. My parents came daily to the gates of the princess's residence, begging for my forgiveness. Taking advantage of the crowd gathered at the entrance, I raised my voice. "You claim to be my parents, yet you sold your daughter for glory. That much I could bear. For the sake of Great Chu, I'd do anything. I'd willingly go as a peace bride. But when I returned, having narrowly escaped death, you wished me dead instead, treating that spy like a precious jewel. Now that you're implicated by that spy, father stripped of his office, you finally remember my existence. But does such a bargain exist in this world? I faced death countless times in northern Yen. I've already repaid the debt of life and nurturing you owed me, words you spoke yourselves. But I'm not like you. I'm not heartless. I'll send you monthly support silver. How I give it, how much I give, that depends on my mood." The crowd murmured in disbelief as my parents finally departed. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Zhaoning approached. I hastily invited them into the mansion. Earlier, I had received notice from Zhaoning that the Crown Prince was among the crowd, which is why I spoke deliberately. The Crown Prince said, "Sister Chengning, you are clear in your affections and hatred, loyal and righteous, utterly devoted to Great Chu. I hold you in the highest regard. Should you ever need anything in the future, do not hesitate to ask." "Thank you, Your Highness." Upon my return to Chu, All will be well. With the Crown Prince's assurance, I felt even more confident. After the Crown Prince took his leave, Zhao informed me that the second prince had been demoted to his fiefdom, and neither he nor the fourth prince could stir up trouble now. I nodded. Without absolute certainty, why would I confront the princes? All I needed was to present evidence implicating those two princes. The Crown Prince desires their downfall more than anyone. Soon after, news arrived from Fengqiao Villa. The Marquis of Anil had passed away, with his spies dragging the princes into scandal. How could the emperor spare him? And so, he finally met his end. My days of prosperity, however, are just beginning. The end.